In today's episode of the Pathway Presents podcast, I got a very interesting guest here with me today. I'm with Austin Hille, and he's hailing over from the teams over at Carmigo. Carmigo is the easiest way to sell your car, basically from your phone, and make it super easy to sell it, wherever you are, from home, might it be your phone or even your office. So today we want to really figure out what Carmigo is all about, but also how Austin is thinking about growth for the company. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Lucas. Really appreciate the time.
Of course. So maybe give us a quick insight. What is Carmigo all about in your own words?
Yeah, I think I'm glad that you said it the way that you did. But yeah, Carmigo is the easiest way to sell your car. I think that's what we're all about, right? We started as a company in January of 2021. I actually wasn't on board at the time, but our founder started it then. And he was working for a group of dealerships in the US South, and kind of realized that, there's a lot of ways people can sell their car, right? But it kind of falls into two camps. One is you can do it on your own, and yeah, you're going to get a lot of really good offers. But it takes a lot of work to do that, right? So you'd have to shop it around a bunch of different individuals, do test drives. Sometimes there's some uncomfortable scenarios where you meet people in a shady parking lot to do a test drive. It's not a very fun experience, and it takes a lot of work. Or you can take it into a dealership, get a trade-in offer, but that's just one offer. And then the companies like Carvana and CarMax, they're doing that model at scale. Again, nothing wrong with that. It's very, very easy, but you're not getting multiple competing offers. So Carmigo combines the best of both of those worlds. We give you multiple offers. It's super easy to do. And as a result, hopefully you get the most for your car. Yeah.
Very good. Makes a whole lot of sense. So who would be sort of the types of people you would say that would, get onto the platform? Is that any type of car? Is that private people? Is there some businesses doing that as well? Maybe tell us a little bit about who is selling on Carmigo.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, we're seeing there's always going to be trends in the market based off of which cars people are going to sell a little bit easier, right? We're selling to a nationwide network of dealerships. So whatever dealerships might be interested in buying, make and model wise, is really what we're interested in selling for the most part, right? So there's a few models that, dealerships might not be as interested in. Anything a little bit more custom, again, it's a little bit harder to sell that in a lot. So we're typically looking for people with, not as much of special interest cars, right? But largely any US auto consumer is, viable to be on the Carmigo platform and will likely get a lot of offers on the platform, which is really good for us. But to your point, businesses as well, right? This is something that we're really starting to focus on right now is, there's a lot of fleet management companies. There's a lot of dealerships with excess inventory who may be interested in finding a way to offload that and kind of liquefy it really quickly. We offer an opportunity for that as well. So just recently, we've been kind of working with some different dealerships, and they can throw up 20, 30 cars on the platform, see which ones get offers, take the ones that they like. And then, we've kind of provided a service in their need in that situation, which is really helpful for everybody. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, how do people actually learn about Carmigo? What's their journey that they're going through in order to get started with you guys?
Yeah, I mean, so as the marketing guy, right? So we do a wide variety of things to try and capture people's attention, right? One, we're investing in certain paid channels, right? Search advertising, paid social advertising. In the past, we even did a little bit of traditional with billboards and radio, kind of getting out of that now more recently. But, kind of all starts with people being aware of Carmigo and what kind of value we can provide them, right? And then from there, they can go to our website. And it's a super simple process from that point on, right? Enter a little bit of information about your car. At that point, we'll prompt you to take 13 preset pictures of your car. That there's actually a really cool AI tool we have working in the background that identifies if there's any damage on that car, creates a condition report for our network of dealers. And then for a 1-day selling period, all of our dealers get a chance to take a look at that car and place their different offers on it. So it traditionally is an auction system effectively, right? So everybody's putting bids in on that car. And the highest bid wins at the end of a 1 business day period. And that car sells. If it does sell at the minimum price that you set as a seller, then you pay a flat fee, and that's the end of it. We take care of all the paperwork. We do the title transfer. And usually within 1 business day, you're on your way with, money about to come to the bank. So it's a pretty easy experience.
It sounds very easy. It sounds very straightforward. Now, what I'm curious is, you mentioned actually the channel, so people getting to know Carmigo. How do you think about the website? What role does the website play in your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, so in our case, there's two different elements of it, right? And maybe for better or worse, we would kind of see it as there's the marketing site and then there's the web app, right? The web app is the one that we're collecting all the information on. We have a really talented group of developers that are making sure that that is running as smooth as possible, that we're creating a really seamless journey for everybody on that end. And then there's the marketing site, which is what I'm more directly over, right? So on the marketing side, we're making sure that all the questions are being answered, right? So I think one of the main things that we hear from our sellers is just like, at first I thought Carmigo was a scam. We're a relatively new company, right? People are kind of curious about, hey, is this thing legit, right? So we got to be able to offer those proof points for them up front that, hey, we've done this thousands of times before. Here's all of our 5-star reviews. Here's the reasons why you should give us a try, right? Making sure they know it's absolutely free to list. And then from that point on, ensuring a seamless journey, we're also really involved in that on the marketing side, right? So with the web app, constantly kind of refining our UI to ensure that there's clear expectations of the seller and they know what's going to happen next, and making sure they have the most successful sale as possible. And so we're involved in both sides of that at the end of the day.
Gotcha. Okay, very good. So what have you learned? What would you say sort of others, because you mentioned it's important to bring the trust points on the page. Like, what is the strength of the website versus where do you even see room for improvement? Because we got a lot of marketers on the show that, they're in a constant process of evolving the website. How do you think about that for Carmigo?
Yeah. So the biggest thing for us is right now in our current kind of sphere is at the end of putting in information about your car, we give you an estimate based off of a bunch of different market data of what the value of your car is, right? And so if I'm a seller and I see a price that maybe I don't like as much on that estimate, it's really easy just to be like, no, thank you, I'm not as interested in trying, right? So we see a lot of drop off in that area. Totally understandable, right? So one of the biggest challenges that we face right now, excuse me, is that we need to be really good at communicating clearly to the seller at that point that yes, we're providing this estimate. Yes, it's provided based off a bunch of market data. It's based off of auction data from us in the past, right? But our job is to not just manage to this number, but to get you the most as possible for this car, right? So in terms of where we're really trying to hone things in, that's probably the biggest area. We're pretty efficient on getting people from like the marketing side of the page where people can learn more about Carmigo down the lead funnel. But it's when we hit that end of the lead funnel that we really have to do a lot of work to tell the seller like, hey, we're going to do our best to get you the most possible. And of course, it's risk-free if it doesn't hit the number that you don't want it to hit. So that's a lot to tell the seller, but we're getting better and better at it each day. Yeah.
Makes sense. I mean, you've been obviously with Carmigo for a while, but you've been in interesting marketing roles prior. Like, what have you learned in general when it comes to those conversions on the website, like building enough trust and bringing people through the conversion point? Like, is there anything that you've learned, any approaches, methods, tools, methodologies that you feel are helpful in that regard?
Yeah. So the number one thing, we were just talking about this yesterday, and Billy brought this up, is like, copy cannot explain away a bad experience. Like I think one thing I hear a lot in previous roles, and sometimes I even hear it in Carmigo, and we're really a lot better about it at Carmigo than other places, is, yes, sometimes there is a long lead time to fixing certain basic functionality or making it easier for the customer, right? But what's not a viable solution is to simply task a copywriter or task the marketing team to say, hey, write up something that explains why this is such a poor experience, and then the customer will understand that and therefore move on. Like that it just never happens, right? Like I've seen it done 15, 20 different times and it's never occurred that way, right? So, previously I worked in a telecom company where, we sold smartphones. Like that was our primary thing. It was just essentially one big e-com platform when you break it down, right? But there's also this really complicated side of getting people's service plans set up on those phones as well, right? And so there's a lot of different pain points in that journey to get somebody all the way to checkout. And as we were trying to really build out that funnel more and more efficiently, there was always this temptation just to say, hey, we'll just write this on the page and hopefully people will understand. You really have to walk people through those steps. And I think you'll even find in many cases that customers are willing to go down a little bit longer of a checkout journey and a seller journey, just to understand what's being charged to their card. And they're pretty forgiving in that area, right? So if that's the one thing I've learned, it's don't explain away bad experiences with copy, always invest in fixing the process.
Very cool. I think a very profound and important learning. as you go along. So I would love to switch gears a little bit, Austin, and talk with you a little bit about your sort of your work and journey as a marketer. Maybe could you tell the listeners a little bit like what would be sort of, the types of projects that you're working on a daily basis? Because, specifically in a fast growing company, there's so many things marketers could and should and want to do. Like, what is it that the things that you actually sort of focus on?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that it can always come back to bite you if you don't do it immediately is get your reporting set up properly first, right? It'll never be perfect, but the number one thing I could recommend to people is if you're getting started out at some sort of fast growing startup company, anything, right? If you identify that you don't have the information you need to make good decisions, the first thing you should probably do is find a way to make that decision come to fruition, right? That can be setting up a PostgreSQL database. How do we get to that point, right? That can be investing in a BI tool, making sure that your marketing platforms are ETL into your database, right? These are things that I think would probably be, if I could go back and start over at Carmigo again, I would say that's the number one thing I would do, right? Now, reality is sometimes you get there and that's just not an opportunity, right? But I think that's one thing that I've seen consistently in all my roles is, we hire a lot of smart people with very good intuition and a ton of industry experience, and they're some of the most talented people I've ever worked with. But at the end of the day, we're all going to have to go back and look at some numbers to make sure that we hit the thing that we need to hit. And if we can't all agree on those numbers, then all that time is almost in vain. So I think, the most important thing I can tell people is, it's hard to make sure that we all get on the same page when it comes to reporting, but it's worth it. Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. Now I got some rapid fire questions to wrap it up for today. Are you ready for those?
Yeah, let's do it.
What's the last book that you read?
Good to Great by Jim Collins.
Mm-hmm. What's the one single thing that your company is focused on the most at the moment?
Driving down customer acquisition costs.
If there would be no boundaries in technology, what's the one thing that you would fix for your role in marketing today?
Oh boy, it's so interesting to bring that up. If I could change one thing about that, I would actually know what I would do. I would focus on like an organic content platform that allows me to be a lot more targeted.
Mm-hmm. And for the very last question, right, I would like to do a little bit of time travel. If we go back to the days of the University of Mississippi, all right,
Yeah.
So you're heading out of formal education into the world of business growth and marketing. What's the one advice you would give? I mean, actually, you were even prior to or in that time, right? In reporting, a reporter. What's the one advice you would give yourself for your journey?
Drop out of college because my degree was practically useless. And I would say, go use that money to start a business and learn on this, learn by practical matters rather than in a university setting. And I would tell that to any marketing student these days. Yeah.
Let's see. Some people will be listening to the episode and potentially change their mind on that. So maybe we saved somebody a couple of bucks there. So Austin, thanks a lot for joining the show. I want to give you the very last word. If somebody would be forgetting all that we discussed about Carmigo, what's the one thing that they should remember?
Carmigo is helping people. We're connecting sellers to buyers in the easiest way possible. So if easy is what you're after, then Carmigo is the best way to do it. Yeah.
Thanks a lot for being a guest on Pathway Presents.